Hey, Tom, happy Friday. Nice to see you.
Hey, thanks, Cory. Happy to be here with you.
Hey, thank you so much. Research as a recovering graphic designer is not something that I felt all that crazy about. So I invited you to talk about why research is so dang sexy. So before we get rolling, could you introduce yourself and just tell a little bit about what you're up to?
Yep. My name is Tom Herman. My company is Veta Intell. Veta is the Slavic word for knowledge,
Hmm.
Intel, intelligence. So the concept is knowledge through intelligence. We are customer researchers. So we focus on helping companies understand their customers better so they can connect with them and serve them better. I've been doing this for decades. I've been in the market research game for a long time. It's my passion, and I love what I do.
Hey, I love that. Yeah, I know you're. I can tell the passion. You and I, much like most everybody else that I've met these days on LinkedIn, and you're very, very active and engaged, and I appreciate our conversations. In fact, some very insightful details and insights that you've brought. Obviously, you're the go-to person I wanted to reach out for on this topic, so I appreciate it. Thank you for that.
I appreciate it. Yeah, thank you.
So again, as a recovering designer, can you tell me why research isn't like watching paint dry?
Well, I'll tell you my perspective. So, sexy is in the eye of the beholder. So, what I think is sexy in my world is intelligence, knowledge, confidence, resilience, competitive advantage, consistent results. I mean, to me, that's sexy in business. What's not sexy is struggle, stress,
Mm.
internal conflicts, confusion, inconsistent results, or just plain bad results. Like that's not sexy, obviously, and that makes business not a lot of fun and makes it really challenging. So, to the extent that research can help companies feel more confident, make more intelligent decisions, move forward in strategic ways that make sense to serve their customer better. If that's what research does, then that's pretty sexy in my world. So that's what I think. So in terms of it being boring or watching paint dry, yeah, I mean, like a lot of things, if you focus on the process itself, it might be a little dry because you're going through certain procedures and it's a methodical approach and process. Not super exciting, but what you need to do is focus on the outcome. So
Mm.
if research can provide you with the insights and data and analysis that allow you to make better decisions and more confident strategies that ultimately result in better results for your company, then it's not, the process might be boring, but the results are certainly not boring because it's really all about improving your business, consistently performing that gets everyone excited. So it's, I guess research gets a bad knock because a lot of times the people that do it are kind of labeled as, oh, that guy, he's a numbers guy, or he's whatever, or she's whatever. But the bottom line is look at the outcomes that are supported by research, and that's really the way I look at it. Is it's all about the outcome. It's all about where you're trying to get somebody, the destination, and in the transformation. So
Yeah, I
hope
love
that makes
that.
sense.
Yeah, no, and I've changed my evil ways, by the way. In fact, if you look at our tagline of Lure, it's science and soul marketing. So as a designer that didn't like to paint between the lines and research, it's like, hey, don't restrict my artistic capabilities. I don't want to have to paint on a canvas. Let me run wild. Let me get after it and not hold me through confines of restrictive research, so to speak. But you're absolutely so right. Through my years of doing this for so long, so much time and effort being spent on spinning the wheels, and instinctively as a designer went in a direction that felt great in my gut. Oh my gosh, these people are going to love this, and I'm on the right, in terms of a brand approach. Hey, this look and feel is going to be great. only to find out I was the only one that felt that. And ultimately was my ego being crushed because far too many people and missed the mark because I was the market research. It was me, not really anybody else, which was an extremely poor decision. I spent so much time and effort needlessly when I could have laid down the foundation, right? So yeah, I love that.
Yeah. It's a common thing you see where, research is kind of done internally without really engaging with the people you're actually trying to reach and connect with. And it's a bit of a, waste of time to kind of kick things around internally without actually, doing some outreach and research. Yeah, it's pretty common.
Is it coming from a CEO perspective? In fact, we just did a quick survey for one of the clients that we just onboarded. We sent out 50,000 surveys, got a lot of feedback. The CEO had never done that before.
Yep.
And reading some of these comments, I can see that he was surprised, and his ego, I could tell that there were some things that he didn't sit right with him. Do you find resistance on a CEO to open themselves up to research, or is it more common? Maybe expand on that a little bit more.
Well, I think one of the biggest blocks that we see is the kind of like we know our customer,
right?
We've been doing this for a long time. We know our customers, we know our market, we know our competitors, and therefore, we don't need to spend the time or money doing research. And that comes apart pretty quickly when you ask, oh, okay, can you explain to me, at a high level, who's your ideal customer and, what makes them tick? And you get a lot of like, basically no information. So
right.
What that then tells you is that all the decisions and strategies and tactics that they're pursuing are based on opinions, assumptions, and internal guesswork. So, that's the biggest blocker, is that attitude that we know our customers well enough. And if you think about it, do you ever know your customers well enough? Because it's kind of like a snapshot in time. Our world, especially now more than ever, is changing rapidly.
Oh, wow.
Competition is changing, the economic environment is changing, consumer behavior is changing. So to say that we know our customers because we've been in business for 10 years, we've never actually talked to them or researched them, is a ridiculous statement to make.
Absolutely.
Especially given that your customer of last year is not this year's customer, it's not going to be next year's customer. So
for sure.
Yeah, that's a big one. And it's tough to break through. Our ideal client comes to us understanding that, all right, we need to know more. I mean, things that we've been doing aren't working as well as they used to, or we've got this emergency, something's not, there's more information we need to gather. And that's a good place to start from, the openness to be in a position to open yourself up to
vulnerable
information that you certainly don't know about, and some of it might be kind of uncomfortable to learn.
Absolutely.
It's that client or prospect that says, we're good, we know our customer well enough. It's hard to help somebody that doesn't want to be helped. So
for sure.
So we see that, and it's great that the CEO you're talking about was willing to do that. And you find out information that you might not have thought was true, that is actually the truth. The market speaks, right? I mean, you can't believe things that make you feel good if that's not what's actually happening in your market and with your customers. So yeah, it hurts, but you'd rather know than not know. I'm sure he would agree with that.
Absolutely. No, 100%. It's that whole adage, hey, we've always done it this way, right? That no longer applies. Just like you said, I just think we're in a completely different environment. The customer or client that you started off, opening your doors with, isn't necessarily that same client anymore, right? After 10 years in business?
No question. Yeah. I had somebody that said, we've been in business 20 years. And, I asked, is your customer from 20 years ago the same as today? And he's like, yeah, more or less. It's, it's the same person. I'm like, really? I'm like, that's amazing that people would stay the same in the way they think and the way they act and the way they purchase. And the way they see the world. I mean, that's, obviously not
Were they in the
reality.
mortuary business?
Well, yeah, exactly. I guess that doesn't change too much. Yeah.
No, not at all.
Yeah. That's a good example. Yeah.
What's the biggest misconception in research?
Well, aside from the fact that what I talked about with leaders thinking that we know our customer well enough, that's the big one probably. Another one is that it's something that's really simple to do, and that it's kind of a one-dimensional thing. So like the common one will be, well, we'll just get on Google and we'll do some searches and we'll figure things out on our own, or we'll look at the competition, see what they're doing, and kind of mirror that or take their lead or something like that. So in reality, research, it's not rocket science for sure, and a lot of companies can do it themselves, but you have to understand what information you're lacking and what is the best way or best ways to capture that information. And it's not going to be Google. Google's nice and it's helpful for secondary research for sure, but that's not the answer. The answer is not doing a single survey. It's a combination of methods usually to find what you need. So and again, it's not rocket science, but it does take a thoughtful approach. First, starting with recognizing what knowledge gaps you're trying to fill, and why do you need to fill those knowledge gaps? What result will that information lead to that helps you improve whatever you're trying to improve? So that's a big one. Kind of thinking that it's some simple thing that maybe we can do in a couple hours or something. It's to be effective, it needs to be more thoughtful than that.
I bet. It's easy to jump on Google and do some searches, but we found also the results that you're getting aren't, there's definitely some bias and some things. And if you're getting it, it could be, I wouldn't say damaging, but if you're relying on just one source and making it easy to do whatever that process is, that could be harmful as well.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Google's results are curated, so you're seeing what they want you to see.
Absolutely.
So that you got to take that into account as well. Yep.
For sure. What is a kick-ass tip on research that could help anyone? And we, as we talked about before, everything results back to the bottom line. So what would that tip be?
I think the number one tip, and it's something that we focus on a lot, it's really elementary. It's understanding where your business comes from. So, you've heard of the 80-20 rule or the Pareto principle.
Yep.
80% of your revenues and profits come from 20% of your customers. Now, the numbers vary slightly, but generally speaking, that is pretty dead on. And if you can identify those customers and spend a lot of time learning as much as you can about them, you'll have a better chance of keeping them and then using everything you've learned to find more people just like them. So better fit customers coming in the door. The problem, many companies have any customer is a good customer policy where they basically are spraying out, their messaging and taking basically anyone that comes in. And the problem with that is you're going to bring in a lot of people that aren't an ideal fit, and they're going to churn or leave you after a short amount of time. So the more intentional you are about who you're going after, the better the odds are that they'll stick around and be a good customer that receives value from you and obviously gives value back to you in terms of profitability. So it's really simple. Identify the customers that are driving your business and then get to know them as well as you can so that you can keep the ones that you have and acquire ones that are most like them going forward. So it's the hidden in plain sight secret. And this applies to any business, B2B, B2C, it doesn't make a difference. You really need to understand, where your business comes from. Who do you serve best? Who are your best fit customers, your high value customers? And then just, deep dive into everything you can learn about them to keep them and find more. That's really the big tip, I think. In fact, we created a product called the Customer Clarity Guidebook that does just that. It helps companies identify their best customers and then goes deep into everything about them that you need to know to capture and keep the ones you have. So
wonderful. Yeah,
that's the big one.
And that's a really good point. I can't tell you how many clients that we've onboarded in my prior life, in my gut felt it just was not the right fit, did it anyways. and every single instance it ended in disaster. Either, it was a short-lived relationship. We didn't do our due diligence and finding it was the right fit, ignored those signs, and was way worse off overall, because we'd spent all the time and resources getting to know, because it's a very difficult and detailed process. So I could not agree with that sentiment more. And the retention, right? That's a big one.
Yeah, it is. I was just working with a client where internally they didn't agree with amongst themselves who their ideal customer was and who they should be going after. And it was causing all sorts of trouble, internal friction. And, one of the owners loved a certain type of client that was very challenging technically for them to work for. But he just loved the process and loved the outcomes that he could deliver. The problem was that type of client created a tremendous amount of stress internally to the company. And typically, almost every single case with clients of that type, the budget that the bid that they put in for the project was, blown out of the water, and those, basically were non-profitable clients. And that is just, it's a tough to sustain a business where part of the company wants to pursue clients that aren't profitable, and the other company, or the other part of the company, is a little bit more reasonable with trying to attract best fit customers that receive a ton of value, but also provide profit for the company. So I see a lot of misalignment internally over that issue of who is our customer, who delivers, who receives the most value and gives us the profit, a reasonable profit that can support what we want to do as a company. And that's, if you're not aligned, it makes business really hard, and you don't want that.
Absolutely. Yeah. It transcends top line revenue, right? You got to look at the entire picture. And I know it's difficult for some, especially new in business, and you're scrambling to establish metrics and certain things, but being more selective. I could not agree with you more on that. Great insights. So what's some Tom Herman secret sauce you could share with us before I part with you?
Gosh, that's an interesting question. Secret sauce. I don't know about secret sauce. Let me tell you what kind of has worked for me, I guess. And I guess I would say it's just always being curious, always being a learner. I kind of identify myself as a learner. I never take things for face value. I want to dig deeper and understand what's happening and why things are happening. And I tell friends and younger people especially that you want to be that person that's always trying to find out the answers. And if you're on a team of people and you're recognized as the person that is always digging deeper and always trying to find, the answers that help you make better decisions going forward, you're going to be a valued person. You're going to be seen as, really engaged, in the process. And a side benefit is that people are going to think that you're really smart, whether you are or you're not. If you're the person that's striving to find the information that can help the organization do whatever they're doing better, that's a great position to be in. And just that's kind of the spot I found myself in, beginning of my career. And I kind of credit a lot of it to just, I don't know, genetics or my parents or whatever, but I was just a curious person. And I just, being a research person, I was always in that position to, try to help get the information we need to make better decisions. And just, it just works out well for people that put themselves in that position as someone who's always striving to learn. So I guess, whether that's secret sauce or not, I don't know, but it's worked well for me. And it just, it helps me be valuable to other people, because there's a lot of stuff that people need to know that they either don't recognize that they need to know it, or they just don't have the time or capability to get there. And, I've always been in that support role, in that, I'm the one that helps get the information that decision makers need to do their jobs. So you know, that, and being curious is obviously critical in that role. So
for sure. No, that's great. Wonderful. Some good stuff. Hey, great combo. I appreciate you spending a few minutes with us on Friday. I would love to have you back and continue the conversation. Thanks so much, Tom. Appreciate it.
Anytime, Cory. Yeah, thank you very much. This is great.
You bet. Take care.